Welcome back to Education Matters. Did you correctly answer D? In 1989, 1 in 50 black students in Charlotte attended a hyper-segregated school, again, a school with a minority population of 90 to 100%. By 2010, and today, it's about 1 in 3 black students. Joining us now to continue our discussion is Atrayus Goode. Atrayus is the president and CEO, founder of Movement of Youth in Durham, North Carolina. Thanks for being here, Atrayus, and Dr. Lindsay continues to be with us. Now, Atrayus, I invited you to come on the show because I just recently had the opportunity to hear your personal story about the impact that mentors had on you, and I had just been following Dr. Lindsay's research. So, share with us your story, sort of about the impact it had on you.
Sure. Well, my early life was a bit challenging. So my mom, she used drugs for quite a while when I was growing up, and my dad raised me throughout a portion of that. And essentially, I needed a way to transition out of that. And so eventually, I was matched with a mentor through the Greater Charlotte Chapter of the 100 Black Men of America. And their motto is what they see is what they'll be. So again, this idea of visioning, that it's important to see people that look like you in positions of influence to help you to then see yourself in that space.
Yeah, I like that because when you said that the other day, like what you see is what you'll be. I mean, I immediately thought because we're going to talk about this in this segment, in Dr. Lindsay's research, is that what he's describing about the impact of mentors. Probably a decent hypothesis about some of the effects that you're seeing in the research.
That's right, yeah, so you can totally think about this role model effect. So just seeing a college-educated black teacher might be something that signals kids that they also can go to school, right? You can imagine that, if you don't, particularly for these persistently low-income black boys, if you don't have that at home, having it at school might be the mechanism that causes you to not drop out of high school.
What was, you were obviously paired, I guess, was it more than one mentor or others around you? What was the impact? How did, when you look back now, obviously, you can, it's been a little while, but so what were you thinking about it? So what did it do to you?
So I did have multiple mentors, and it's interesting. I was talking before the show. When I was growing up, my dad actually read the newspaper to me before I got to school, and so when I was in kindergarten, I was actually able to read. And my first teacher was a white woman, and I was reading out loud one day, and she asked, well, hey, are you reading? And I said, yes. And then she asked, did you memorize that book? And I didn't understand why she would ask me that, but then she started to pull other books from the classroom to see if I could actually read. And fast forward, I was actually asked to go to the principal's office to prove myself.
Wow.
And so this notion of me perhaps not being gifted was something that came up, and I was actually placed in the gifted program when I was in 2nd grade, and that's when I had a black teacher.
Wow. And that's something, look, this is not your research, but this is research that we've seen. There are trends that show that there may be sort of, let's say that black teachers have higher expectations of black students, and conversely, because of whether it's implicit bias, whatever, that white teachers may have not have the same standards. So it sounds like what you're saying, at least even as early as kindergarten.
Oh, absolutely.
That showed up for you.
Yeah.
What about the discipline data? We talked about that just a little bit. The kinds of things we're talking about is you see a gap in terms of sort of how students are punished in school?
Yeah, so we certainly see these discipline gaps. And so one of the things that we talk about at the end of the discipline paper is maybe thinking about teachers as gatekeepers, right? So, they have discretion to decide whether they send someone to the principal's office or if they, just basically how they interpret behavior might be different. And I think that has some implications for how we train teachers and think about sort of the teacher workforce as a whole.
That's one of the things I thought about is, we've spent a lot of money in this country talking about the trying to close the achievement gap. I mean, I like to call it the opportunity gap, but there's clear differences in academic achievement between black and white students. This research says, maybe what we need to really be focusing on is the teacher workforce. It would be, and one could argue, might be a lot cheaper than some of the things we're doing.
Yeah, that's one thing that we say. There's sort of short-term and long-term implications, and one of the short-run implications is let's think about how to distribute black teachers, across cities and states so that more teachers or more black students can have exposure to them, and that's something that I think hiring administrators can do not easily, but it's something they can think about.
Yeah, we have teacher recruitment challenges of all color,
of all
right?
colors. That's right. That's right.
Now, Atrayus, tell me a little bit about. I do want to give an opportunity to talk about Movement of Youth and just about the work you're doing in mentoring, because I think you buy into, you got some good research now to back it up, but you buy into this notion that that really all students need to see positive role models.
Right. So moving of youth, we do a number of things. So mentoring, college tours. We have a global fellowship, and we give out college scholarships, and we're run primarily by college students. And so this notion of having someone that is not that far removed from where you are, and they also look like you, so giving you access to someone that's already been able to navigate some of those challenges. One of the things that we're actually transitioning into now is doing some work with the National Mentoring Partnership, and so looking to relaunch Mentor Carolinas, and so this will be an affiliate across North and South Carolina that looks at the ways in which we can leverage various mentoring agencies to share best practices. But one of the things that I'm interested in is looking at how do you leverage mentoring for racial equity and social justice, because my personal experience with the 100, and I think it was a great organization, but a lot of what I was taught implicitly was that there's a particular way that I have to behave in order to be successful. So these cultural gymnastics of black and brown people notice code switching, that you have to show up in certain ways in order to receive respect. And I think that reinforces this notion that the onus is on that student to show up in a particular way, and I think it fails to address the larger systemic issues that create the need for mentoring agencies in the first place.
Right. Well, I'm glad you brought this up. This is important stuff, but we have to keep talking about it. Last word for you, sure. Dr. Lindsay, sort of what's next?
What's next? So we're going to be doing some research on the relationship between teacher and principal race and thinking about teacher turnover. One of the things that we know is that black teachers are actually leaving the profession at higher rates than white teachers. And so that's something to understand. I mean, we want them to stay once we get them. So just broadly thinking about teacher diversity and how we can get a diverse, high quality workforce. And also just thinking about ways that all teachers can work with all students and maybe reforming teacher prep, all things teacher diversity for me.
All right, terrific. Well, we appreciate you both coming on. You're doing important work. We appreciate you sharing it with our viewers. I learned a lot myself today,
great.
So thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. After the break, our leadership spotlight.